What's up, Try Swim Coach crew? Welcome back to the Try Swim Coach podcast. I'm your host, Coach Dominic Tella, the guy who makes sure your freestyle doesn't look like you're wrestling an invisible sea monster. Whether you're a total newbie, still figuring out which way is forward, or a seasoned triathlete shaving off seconds, you're in the right place. Now, here's the deal. Listening to this podcast is great. Love it for you. But if you really want to take things to the next level, get your butt over to Swimbox for some in-person coaching. Video analysis, technique fixes, the kinds of hand-on feedback you can't get from a YouTube rabbit hole. This is where the magic happens. We're not just guessing at what's wrong, we'll show you exactly how to fix it. All right, today's episode is packed. We've got wetsuit tips, training thoughts, and some straight-up swimming wisdom to keep you crushing it. Oh, and real quick, don't forget to subscribe to the pod and share the pod. Got it? Good. Let's go. This morning, I'm contemplating our Bahamas trip that we're going to go to. Is it next week?
Next Tuesday, Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. Whew.
Less than a week.
We haven't run an open water camp since before COVID. So like 2019 was the last time we ran an open water camp.
Jesus, that's crazy
And
to think about. What was that, 6 years?
Mm-hmm. And
That's an infant.
I was trying to think about the first time I remember swimming open water. And
Just at all?
yeah, as like a competitive swimmer, right?
Okay.
Not as a kid. Well, that's something else, right?
Yeah.
But like the first time I can remember swimming open water was actually in the Bahamas where I was coaching. We swam at a 7-day Adventist school, and so we couldn't have swim practice on Saturdays. And so the move was that we would just have swim practice at the beach, and we would just swim in the ocean, right? So
We'll work
I
around.
yeah, I
perfect.
started swimming, at like age 11 or 12 in Atlanta. Not a lot of beaches in Atlanta. There was a place called Beach Atlanta that I used to work at.
What in the world is Beach Atlanta?
It was a man-made, I'd call it a
Water
man-made pond. Anyway, so
Google does not know Beach Atlanta exists.
I have a vague memory of doing those swim practices, and I obviously wasn't going to have kids in the water and not be in the water with them, and sort of like thinking to myself or recognizing that this was more enjoyable than in the pool, and this was, especially in the Bahamas, way more entertaining.
How old were you?
21, 22. But you can see like 60 feet down, which is also terrifying because you can see 60 feet down.
Yeah.
And you're like, what am I doing in this? Or what's that moving down there?
I think it's so interesting that your memory is of swimming in the Bahamas at a swim practice.
Yeah.
And like that doesn't exist there. Like to this day.
What do you mean?
Like you not constantly, but a lot of the time you will, when we talk about going to the Bahamas or something, you'll talk about how it's surrounded by water. No one swims there.
Oh,
Whenever we go and the locals we're talking to people who live there, and Dominic's friends are like, what are you guys all doing here? We're here to swim. All look at us like we have 8 heads and like, you want to get in the water? Yeah.
So being connected to the Bahamas and knowing and being very close to a lot of Bahamians, the wintertime, you don't get in the water there. Doesn't matter how hot it is. Doesn't matter. You just don't get in the water there.
Their winter is
75 degrees Fahrenheit.
so nice.
Water temp is also around 75, 78. Pretty nice. But yeah, if you're a Bahamian, you really just get in the water to wade, right? You get in the water in the summertime where it's about 89 degrees, 90 degrees, and you enjoy a cold beer in the water. Maybe one of my favorite things to do is eat a mango in the water, right? But you're not really doing anything else in the water. So they always look at us like we're crazy when we go swimming there. So anyway, Mike, what's your first memory of open water swimming?
I used to go to the beach a lot in the summer and just body surf and stuff. So that's where I was just familiar being there every day. So it's really hard to have a first memory of it. Um, I started doing open water. Well, I did a triathlon when I graduated high school, and I got super sick like the night before the race
Oh,
and had like food poisoning or something. And all my friends, we were camping out and they all went out to eat. And I just laid in the campsite, like totally wiped out. So we got up and did the race the next day and there were no wetsuits. This was 1984. So we didn't wear wetsuits and the water was probably like low 60s. So it was freaking cold.
Chadley.
So I
Yeah.
tore up the swim, still did okay in the swim, but then had little biking and running experience and was pretty sick. So I was pretty weak. And I rode, it was like an Olympic distance. I rode the whole bike um and didn't drink anything because it was kind of cold at the beginning.
Mm.
And then in the last mile, I go, oh man, it's getting warm out. And I haven't drank anything. So I drank an entire bottle of orange juice that was on my bike, like the
Jesus.
tall ones, like the
That
tall
sounds
ones.
terrible.
And I came off the bike and I tried to run and I had this sloshing stomach and I just got like a side ache that was like unbearable. And I walked
That's
like
terrible.
5.5
No,
miles.
oh,
And
to
then
be young.
it like everybody was passing me the whole time. And I finally ran like the last half mile in.
But the
And
swim was good.
that's the most vivid memory I have, not specifically of the open water, because it was just part of the race. I have other
Yeah.
memorable moments in open water, just not my first one. But yeah, that was my first triathlon race experience. Wasn't to the caliber I had hoped it would be, but I was
I mean,
still
it's
hooked and wanted to do it again.
I wonder if anyone's is. Like if anyone was like, yes,
Their
I did
first race?
Just hit it
exactly how I
right in the
wanted to
freaking-
do. I crushed it. I hit like, yes.
their
I
very
think-
first
I
race.
think
They
there
might
are. I think there are, but
Yeah.
low
but
bars.
those are people
Yeah.
that got coached too, that were shown how to do it, and like the shortcuts were taught to them, or how to do transitions or whatever it is. Like, I've I've coached some kids that did pretty well in their first races because they didn't know, they didn't make all the damn mistakes that I did growing up in the race or whatever.
Yeah, when I hear of kids, middle school or high school now in our area saying that, they compete in triathlon or whatever, that's super impressive to me.
Yeah.
It's even more impressive to me that you and your friends were doing triathlon in 1984 when very few people were, especially as
Yeah.
teenagers. So
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
pretty amazing, actually.
Well,
So Lisa, is it Lisa? How do you say it?
it's Lissa.
Lissa. Dang it.
Yep.
So
So let's
it,
see. My first memory of open water, I have two, just because I never went to the beach as a child. My parents are paler than me, so it's not their scene. So the first time I went to the beach, I just remember I was with my friend, and I remember that the suit I had on should have been thrown out. That's my first
The
memory.
swimsuit.
Yep. So I didn't get in the water. Didn't get in the water, but I was like, I don't know, 11. First open water swim I did, I had unknowingly just ruptured my eardrum. I didn't know. I was on a training trip in college and I had those I think they're like for construction site workers. You can like squish them really, really tiny, the little foam,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yep.
Don't put those all the way in your ear, right?
Mhm.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Then you have what happened to me. So I used to shove them as far as I could in my ear, not knowing that that was bad, even though obviously that was bad. So that morning I took it out and I just went to itch, I don't know, wax. And I apparently doing that is
I know where this
what
is
the
going.
doctor said ruptured my eardrum.
Oh,
So that was probably the most painful thing ever. And then I
Wow.
literally have blood like coming out of my ear as I go up to my coach and go, I don't actually know what happened. Then I'm in incredible pain. I don't think I should do the ocean mile today. Nah, it'll clean it out. So that
Oh,
was
wow.
great. That was great. Great ocean mile. I did it. I did not clean it out. That was like
Oh.
the most
This is
painful
where
experience ever.
swim coaches who have zero
Damn.
experience with the ocean or open
He didn't
water
know.
Yeah, but that's an overstep big
Yeah,
time.
it
When
was
you
a
don't
full body.
know, you just don't know, and you say, "I don't know," and you
Yeah.
cut your losses. You don't pretend to know.
So that was bad. So I don't like open water.
Understandable.
But not actually for any reasons from open water. But that was awful. I was just like,
Yeah,
I
and
can't remember the swim because I just remember the pain. And knowing the worst part too was that it was along the shore. So I'm just right next to the end the whole time, basically.
yeah, you just get out whenever you want.
I should have. I should have.
Um,
It was terrible.
the as I'm thinking through my memory and I'm listening to Mike's memory and your memory, none of us were wearing wetsuits during this,
Oh my god, no.
right? So it's making me think: is it advantageous for a beginner to get in open water without a wetsuit to feel that experience? Does it matter? I don't know. From my
I
perspective, it was helpful not to have a wetsuit because it was just like transitioning from pool to ocean like nothing, and the water temp was pretty similar as well. So
Yeah, I have to go just with safety first. So I would ask the person. Like I would definitely, like
so
if because there's like so
I
many
have a
people, I was
heavy
afraid.
take on this, and it's like kind of a mode I'm in right now is all about the differences in wetsuit swimming and all that. And there's several concepts to it, but um the first one is just this analogy of what swimming in a wetsuit is like. And
Mhm.
listen, I had listened to the last few podcasts, and I hear you talking about your experiences and stuff, and it's kind of funny, how you're checked out on other stuff like like the bike or the run and stuff
Oh
like
my
that.
god.
But hopefully you
No.
get this. To me, what most swimmers coming in to the sport that aren't real great swimmers, triathletes, it's like riding a mountain bike. And when you ride a mountain bike, you can put out a lot of power and just not be going very fast. You're going like 16 miles an hour, killing
Mhm.
yourself. And then you get on a tri bike and you're going like 22 miles an hour and you're hardly working. A- a-
Right.
And and that's kind of like a wetsuit. And then you get on an e-bike. I don't know if you've ever ridden an e-bike, but they're really
No.
no,
fun. A little dangerous, but they're really fun. And you hardly have to work at all, and you're going like 25 miles an hour.
That
The
sounds my
problem
kind of biking. That's my kind of
Yeah,
slow.
the problem with the e-bike, and this is related to the swimming, is that you get on them, you're having a blast, you're just pushing that button and going or pedaling and all this stuff. When you run out of battery power and you have 4 miles left to go, you gotta
Mhm.
pedal this freaking 60 to 80-pound bicycle back to where you started, and that really sucks, that part. So, I just think that I think sometimes swim coaches and the swimmers, they're doing all this swimming to get ready, but they're not really specific to what they're going to do in the race, which is wetsuit swimming. So if you're training on a mountain bike,
Mm.
you're not going to really know what you're doing on the tri bike or know how to use its qualities as well as you could. And if you're really using your energy inefficiently, even in a wetsuit, you can swim way slower than you would without the wetsuit just because you're completely drained. And the last part of the swim, your wetsuit's full of water or whatever, and you feel like it's too tight and you're like, can't do anything. So then you hate wetsuits because you think it was the wetsuit's fault when
Yeah.
you just used up your battery, too much.
Yeah, the
So,
first before I did my first triathlon, I'd never swam in a wetsuit. And I rented one and tried it at a pool. And I took
mhm,
and it was a sleeved one, so it was full sleeve.
mhm,
Um, I took 2 strokes and then I had a low key panic attack and stood up and like ripped the top of it off of me. It made me extraordinarily claustrophobic. Not to mention, I had no idea how to swim in it.
yeah.
Like, 'cause you're constricted, it changes your movements, you're floating so much more, so that's why I did not use one for my first race. I've never used one in a race, I've only ever used one, when we go to the Bahamas to swim, but that one does not have sleeves, and that
Uh-huh.
one just feels so much more like I can actually move in it, but even with those, what we do, what Dominic will do with a lot of his clients, I don't really have any triathlon clients right now that are competing, actually. I have I have wounded
yeah,
triathlete
yeah.
clients who are taking breaks. we have them wear their suits into swim box so that they have to try them, see how they work, see what they like. I always tell people if you don't have an opportunity to try it before a race, don't swim in it. Like that's way more detrimental to you than helpful.
I I
If
can't
it's the
imagine
first
trying a new
time,
piece of equipment out,
absolutely not.
the day that you're gonna go perform and compete. I
No,
can't imagine doing something brand new for the first time, but lots of people do it.
Even
no.
even my experienced swimmers are like, "What do you really?" When I tell them, "Hey, I want you to start wearing a wetsuit to practice every Wednesday
Mhm,
for like 4 to 6 weeks before the race at the pool." We're wearing it at the pool because I want them to really dial in their their comfort in it and their pacing in it and all this
mhm.
stuff. There's a lot of details to doing it, but I have this other little saying that I've been using more lately, and you guys be able to relate to this too, I think. Um, and that's to use hacks, don't be a hack. You know, uh, do you know what a hack is? Like, have you ever heard that terminology?
Oh, yeah.
What a hack is?
That was great.
Yeah.
So, in the dictionary, I looked it up. Two very different meanings. A hack is a person that's unskilled, that's making basically bad, ugly movements. And we see that a lot in swimming, but you see hacks on the bike too, or people that are doing whatever activity and they look like a hack. They're just like unstructured, weird looking movements that are moving them somewhere, but not too efficiently. And then
Mhm.
hacks that you can use to uh, improve your skills or improve your performance or whatever. The problem with that kind of hack is people think it's just this super shortcut to doing
Yeah.
something.
Right.
Uh, and it's not a super shortcut. It's a new habit or product or something like that that you have to use consistently over a period of time and you get a good result, and it's a better result than you would get. Like you guys are a hack because you teach people how to swim a lot faster than if they just went to the pool and swam on their own and tried to figure it out.
Mhm.
So
Right.
but they have to come to you consistently. They have to follow the program that you're doing and be all in and all that stuff. And they're going to get way better, way faster than they would on their own. It's not a just a quick pill you take. But so
Right.
that's kind of my new analogy. So um there's a lot of people out there that are like, major hack people, like the bulletproof guy, forget his name.
Yeah, what's his name? Bulletproof Coffee, that's what you're talking about?
Yeah. He
What
owns a
is
lot of
it doesn't matter, but
He owns a lot of different companies. He has his own podcast. Like everything he does, he tries to find these hacks or these ways to like do things more efficiently. And Huberman's kind of that kind of way
yep.
too and stuff. So
Dave
I kind
Asprey.
of
Davey Asprey.
try to, yeah, Dave Asprey. Yeah. I try to think of that in swimming terms. It's like what what activities, habits, whatever can I use with my athletes that are going to get them to be at a high performance level with the least amount of time it takes for them to learn this.
Mhm. Mhm.
And swimming frequently in the wetsuit and learning how to swim in a wetsuit is one of those things. And I just don't think there that knowledge or the information is out there enough to teach these people these things. So like let's say you say you're way more comfortable in a sleeveless suit.
Mhm.
But everybody that's fast pro triathletes are all wearing full sleeve suits. They are faster.
Right,
Um,
and then at
so
that
you just
point, it's
never
just kind of
got in the
stupid to
right
not wear
suit
the sleeves.
or
You're
got
selling
taught how to
yourself
use
short.
it. So a full sleeve suit can actually be a little bit looser on your chest area than a sleeveless. Because if you're wearing a sleeveless, it damn well better be tight in your armpit
Mhm.
area, or you're going to get a bunch of water flow going down, and then the suit turns into a big bucket, and you're dragging around a bunch of extra weight. So I find if they're going to wear a sleeveless, it better be really tight. If they wear a full sleeve, it doesn't have to be so constrictive in the chest area, but you got to make sure that the arm material is correct, that they can get their movement and that they're being body driven with their stroke and not arm driven. Because
Right.
if you're just like using your arms to drag your ass around, I say, you're just a bathtub wind up toy. and you can go fast for a bit, but when your arms tire out, you just slow down. But if you can find that like easy weight shifting rhythm of gravity and buoyancy being your friends, and buoyancy, that force becomes so much stronger in a wetsuit. And most people can't really feel buoyancy, especially if they're not a very good swimmer or if they're dense, like triathletes, their bodies, their lower leg limbs are quite dense. So they're going to sink a lot. So they just they're like a helicopter, they're just putting on the engine and going because they have no ability really to glide, you know. But you get that wetsuit on and whoop, their legs come up, they're at the surface, but they're still going to use that same stroke that they used and just get as tired, unless they
Yeah.
like learn how to dial down the stroke rate a little bit, dial down the kick a little bit, lengthen the stroke and have time to get a breath and not be, lifting their head every stroke to get out. But that doesn't happen in a session. It's got to be like several times swimming in the suit to figure it out. And that's only learning how to swim in the suit. That has nothing to do with open water skills like
Mm-hmm.
sighting, dealing with currents, being freaked out by dark water, having other people banging into you. How do you turn buoys? How do you modulate your output if it's a mass start versus a rolling start? Like there's a whole other set of skills to do in open water, but it's nice if the wetsuit part of it has been learned in a much more controlled environment than putting that all together into one session in the ocean.
Yeah, one less thing to worry about and have under control. I mean, that's just I mean, it would make a lot of sense to me, but I was thinking about when you were talking about people with sinking legs getting a wetsuit and practicing with the wetsuit. I wonder if there's a benefit from people using lava shorts and working their way up to a wetsuit just to feel that buoyancy.
And lava shorts are just the shorts that you
Just
can
neoprene
swim in
shorts.
that are made of neoprene, so they
Shorts, yeah,
still
shorts or
float you.
pants. There's some that go above the knee, some that go slightly below the knee. Um,
Okay.
I, I'm still back to train with what you're going to use in the race first and get used
Yep.
to it right out the gate, because that upper body constriction and just overusing the arms, that doesn't get solved. All you're getting is the flow, which you can practically do with the pull buoy, which we use with people to simulate wetsuit swimming a bit. But a lot of it is learning how to like deal with what happens with your upper body with that wetsuit. The reason you use those shorts or pants is once you have a swimmer that is fairly sound in knowing how they work in their wetsuit, if you and they're sinkers, they're I got this guy that's very good cyclist and runner, not a great swimmer. He's not terrible, but he's super tall and he's all legs, so he's got a short torso, really long legs. And what does that mean? Those levers are going to be coming down. So he wears the lava shorts or pants, the ones that
Yep.
go a little bit longer to practice quite a bit just to kind of keep them up. But
He needs
we're,
to do some Pilates.
yeah,
He
He
needs to
does.
do some Pilates. You
or, and
should
I'm
be able
telling
to
him,
keep
hey,
that up, man.
we're
Come
going
on.
to one of those days with those lava pants and you got to replace it with Pilates. Yeah, I'm going to have to tell him that.
I like it.
But the reason you use those shorts is if you're training in a really hot pool all the time, because you can't
Yeah.
get in and throw down 3,000 yard, you know, set in a 85-degree pool with a full wetsuit on. That's gonna
Yeah.
just destroy you. So we're
Oh,
lucky
you
because we're
overheat so
outdoors
much.
year round. So the air temperature, especially in the morning, is fine. Our water temp's about 80. Yeah,
Yeah.
on
Mhm.
a cold day it's 79, and on a warm day it might be 82 or 83. And I wouldn't want to wear my wetsuit midday at practice in the summer. Like that would be pretty
No,
miserable. But
Yeah.
this
like
water
right
temp sounds
now,
so nice.
Yeah.
some people are loving it because we're like 40, 44 degrees on the deck and everybody's crying that it's super cold.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I don't want that.
So, I think most, we'll say, male beginner triathletes have an easier time finding a wetsuit and swimming in a wetsuit. And I make the distinction of male because I always feel bad for all of my female clients looking for a wetsuit. It is very difficult for females to find a wetsuit that fits them properly.
In what specifics are you talking about?
Mostly because their hips are wider than their shoulders,
Mhm,
and making sure, like Mike was saying, that armpits aren't too loose,
mhm.
right? Because a lot of times females are very thin there and narrow there, so they won't get the compression that they need. Things like that. And one of the things
Really good.
that stands out to me that's tricky is not the beginners. Yes, it is tricky for women, but if someone is a good swimmer and they aren't used to wearing a wetsuit, it changes their balance points and
Yeah,
actually can make them too buoyant and they're
Mhm.
missing the water.
Definitely.
yeah,
And people don't recognize it, right? It happens I would say less frequently than someone feels positive from a wetsuit, but we have had clients ourselves and
yeah,
I know I have that swim slower in a wetsuit because they're too high up and they
yeah,
haven't really their wetsuit's too good and they've got to back off of the wetsuit a little bit and find something with less buoyancy.
yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
So that's exactly good, excellent points. When they're not wearing the wetsuit, the legs and hips drop a bit, and part of their kick, a lot of their kick, unfortunately, is used to balance them. So it's bringing them up to the surface to some extent, and they're getting propulsion, but the legs are in the water. And then when they put on the wetsuit, they're so buoyant, they're kicking air. They're not
Right.
kicking water. So it's a very weird feeling because water feels way different than air. But
Mhm.
I constantly am watching people, they're starting to swim with their wetsuit on. I'm like, you're just kicking air, Splash doesn't help us go anywhere, so they have to learn how to do that right. The other difference that's interesting in the wetsuit is the material that it's made out of. A high-end suit, and it's crazy how expensive suits are, just like bicycles. Bicycles are over $10,000 now. Wetsuits are over $1,000 for like
Mhm.
some suits now.
No need for that
Um,
though. Just FYI, everyone out there, just so you understand the construction of wetsuits, there's only two factories in the world that make neoprene. It's all the same neoprene basically. And so it's
it's
just a
not.
matter of
It's not.
sweat.
No, no, that's
It
not true.
can't
It's
be.
not the same
It's
neoprene.
there's a
There
higher level and a
is
lower level.
there is a lot of technology to the suit material and how they make it and all that stuff. But to your point, um, if you put a super novice cyclist on a $15,000 bike, they are no faster than if they were on a $5,000 bike or a
Mhm.
$3,000 bike. And it's the same thing in the wetsuit stuff. So if you got the money and you want to get a $15,000 bling bike, awesome. Have a blast. It's really a bitchin' bike. And the same with the wetsuit. It's bling, it's bitchin', it's nice, but it's not really going to make you any faster. But the more interesting thing is the actual material differences in a really cheap suit or a lower end suit. It's much stiffer and
Hmm.
it's a little thicker.
Hmm.
And so in a poor swimmer's case, that's actually better because it's a sausage casing. It keeps their body straight and firm to go straight. And these high-end suits are all they move a lot easier. So they allow you to like get all all out of whack and do all this stuff. Whereas a really good swimmer is still straight tracks, super smooth.
Mhm.
They don't feel resistance from the suit because it's a more supple rubber and all that. So a high end swimmer can utilize that more supple rubber and go fast. But an inexperienced or poor technique swimmer, they're just loosey goosey going all over the place, and they love the feel of the suit because it's so,
Does all the
like
work
loose
for
and
them.
relaxing and all that stuff. But you swim like crap in it. So why are you wearing, it's like,
Right.
so my rule is what's the cheapest suit you can wear that gives you the highest performance and is reasonably comfortable for you, not necessarily the most comfortable suit, but what's the fastest suit. Just like if you want to be fast on the bike, your arms are super narrow and your head is down hidden behind your head, and that's not a comfortable place, but it's the
Right.
fastest place, and you better learn how to be there. If you want to average 25 miles an hour on the bike, you can't sit up and ride all comfortable. You got to get like freaking arrow, like a streamline off a wall is the fastest thing to do. We have to learn to do it. It's not the most comfortable. This is way more comfortable, going off the wall, but
Right.
it's not right. So you got to like get your mobility, get your strength, whatever it is to do a motion right. And it's not just comfort. There's a degree to it on a long bike or a long swim with the wetsuit. But so
I
that's
think
that's interesting because people think they can buy the speed, with the
Right.
$1,000 wetsuit, and it's not true.
It's a cyclist mentality there.
yeah, I think it's so weird. Like just like this whole conversation is like very odd for my brain because I grew up as a competitive swimmer and you have nothing. Like you're not allowed to have, I couldn't even wear earrings for crying out loud. I'll get disqualified. So it's like I spent so long working to do things without tools, right? Without things like that. So there's a part of my brain that whenever someone is like, I know that we're working on this here, and I put on my wetsuit, and it just made all of this so much easier. And I'm like, yeah, you are cheating. It's you're cheating. Sorry, that's where my brain goes from my competitive pool based swimming, and then in conjunction with that, Speedo put neoprene panels on their laser suit. I can't remember when that came out.
Yeah, like
2000 ish.
Yeah,
I'm
2000.
not sure. Um, that made the suit float. And in competitive swimming, that's insane. That's insane. And they went, I'm sorry, we went too far. And then they banned the material. So it's just really the juxtaposition of the sports is very interesting because I'm mainly competitive pool. And I'm like, stop cheating. Just swim.
I mean, you bring
But
up a
like
good point.
like it's just such a different
You bring
there's
up a
so many
good point.
different mindsets you can have for it.
And this is going to be off topic from wetsuits because I don't care. I think it would be great if triathlon races banned wearable devices. I think instead of checking your pace, you just race. I wonder what that would do to the sport. I
I
wonder how
saw
that would
that.
change.
Yeah.
I saw that in I was watching a cycling video, Global Cycling Network or something, and they had Josh Portner on there. He owns this company called Silka which makes like pumps and they make chain wax that you wax your chain so it runs smooth and it doesn't break down as fast. It doesn't collect dirt like, with oils and stuff. But he thought racing would be more interesting if they had in cycling no radios and no bike computers.
Yeah.
To
Yep,
make it
I think
more
so.
dynamic of the race. Because right now everything's super scientific of like they know how many watts they can hold and they do just that. And that, they're getting all the instruction of so and so's this far ahead. And it's like kind of taking away the
You get
dynamic
that
of it.
much feedback? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't
That's
it?
insane.
In swimming, it's all
It's you.
perception.
You have to figure it out. You have
Yeah.
to practice and train and understand how to pace and then hope you
Right.
remember it in my God.
maybe if you're lucky, you get a glimpse of the pace clock as you like do a turn or as you're passing
Yeah.
by, right?
I had
But
no
ultimately,
idea.
you need to know you, and it's just so crazy that these other sports, especially like triathlon, there's a big effort for
Interesting.
equipment and having equipment, and it could be any type of whether it's digital or wearable device. Or
Yeah.
I always found it very dangerous and very bizarre that a lot of triathlons allow people to wear snorkels.
What?
It's insane. Not against the rule. You can wear a snorkel in the open water swim.
sounds
That is
crazy to me.
insane to me. But it's
Well,
just
there are handicap
insane.
divisions or what I'm not using the right terminology, but there are divisions and there are people that have had neck surgeries and fusions and
sure if
things
there's
like
some
that. So,
issue, yeah, but
we
so
don't mean
I get it.
that.
I'm
I
not
think
talking
it,
about
I
that.
think more that you have to have an exemption to do something like that. But
Right.
Yeah,
No,
which is fine. That's fine. That's
right.
I think that's
I
different.
know
But
I
I'll
know
tell
that
you,
there's races out there that you don't need an
I'll tell
exemption
you,
to wear a snorkel.
if you were doing a Ironman distance triathlon, you're out there a long freaking time. It's nice
Yep.
to have something to look at and try to hold some goals. So I'm okay
100%.
wearing wearable stuff in a triathlon. I wouldn't want to be out there for that long and have no idea how many
I mean,
miles I'm in the race, what
I agree.
what time it
I think
is,
it would up the level
what
of the
my heart rate.
sport.
It sounds horrible, dude.
It
Horrible.
does.
Forget
The whole
that.
thing sounds
No way.
horrible, right?
No way.
But
Just
I
like
just feel like, hey,
just like don't put me in a pool to do a workout when I don't have a pace clock. If I don't have a pace clock or a watch with fuck that. I'm not doing a workout. I might float around a few laps, but I need some sort of measurement tool or accountability or something like that. I'm
yeah,
not
for
getting
working out,
in
you need to measure yourself for sure. I always
3,000
find it
yards
really
doing nothing.
I always find it really interesting that people, triathletes specifically that I work with, will not learn how to do interval training because they have a watch on, and they'll let their watch just do all the work.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's not hard
super
work.
pet peeve for me, super pet peeve. Um, so when someone new joins my program, I'll look and kind of get a little bit about them, and I'll see if they have a sports watch or anything like that. And what they can do is I teach them how to get it in the swim mode and get the largest digits, like so only like two things on the screen, the time and total distance. You can have that on there, preferably just the time. And they
Mhm.
start it at a 0 on the pace clock so that the seconds are matching the pace clock. And
I
then
like
I
that.
go get in, and that's the last time you touch it till you're done with practice. At the end, you
Mhm.
can stop it and get out. But you can't be like every repeat, sink underwater, be hitting your
Yeah.
watch as you push off, and then be swimming and then come in and hit your watch as you finish.
And then
And we
touch the
were
wall.
doing and we were doing like a 25 skull or something like that. And I'm
Oh my
like,
god.
why the hell do you need to get a freaking split on that? I'm like, are you going home and looking at that to say,
Well,
oh, my 25 skull times used to be 22.7 and now they're
exactly.
Nailed it.
22.3. But
Crushing
then
that
you
skull
ask them,
game.
Just to
their
say what's a good
time.
goal.
What was your time on that 100? Deer in the headlights. I have no idea. It's like,
Nope.
Right.
oh, it's right there. You
Right.
left on a 10, you came in on a 40. Where'd you go? I mean, one
It
third?
I will also I'm empathetic to a point. Okay, I learned this when I was a younger person, but also we used analog clocks back
Yep.
then,
Yeah,
and
Yep.
analog
that's a big
clocks are
difference.
much easier to figure out the pattern and time and like picture it in your head versus a digital clock. You're like, oh shit, now I have to do math.
I mean,
I still picture an analog clock in my head when I figure out
when you go
I
to
information.
do
different
too.
pools, you have to hope that like they have a digital one, they have an analog one. Literally every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I had digital. Every Tuesday, Thursday, I had analog. It was so obnoxious. It was so
Well,
annoying.
you can
But
think
one
in
thing
both.
that I
You
think
can
that's so
think in two
interesting is that
languages.
nowadays, no swim coach does what we had to do growing up.
What do you mean?
Every single kid that I talk to does not have to pay any attention to their interval. They don't need to know the set. They don't No. What are you talking about? That's just told to me. No. I go 5 seconds behind the person in front of me. Okay,
Ugh.
but what was that even on? I don't know.
That's bad.
And I'm like, that's part of this work that you're supposed to be teaching these children. Mental work is not something that I should have to teach you when you come to me when you're 15.
Yeah, that's bad at 15. I mean, I would have gotten reamed out in practice if I didn't know what interval I was on and I was just following the person in front of me.
But I think that's also one reason why it seems like cheating to me because all of like so many of these things that now or like in this sport you never had to take care of these things for yourself. You were just given this tool that does it and you pay attention to it. You don't really understand there is another option,
Yeah.
right? Like so I get that too. But
Yeah.
it's just like coming from that other world. I'm like, man, you guys get so many help, so much help. Like
Yeah. I mean, also, you got to
it's
remember
just so different.
who I work a lot with is marathon swimmers. And you know
Right.
what marathon swimmers love to talk shit about? Wetsuits. Everyone has
They
to find a
can't
reason to like look down on somebody else, right? So marathon swimmers look down on every other open water swimmer. Goes, yeah, but they're doing that in a wetsuit,
but they can't wear them, right?
right? They don't wear
Right.
wetsuits because otherwise it doesn't meet whatever made up criteria standard of you know historic preservation that they've determined for their swims.
Right. So that's another sport that just decided something
Right, right.
from the jump.
I can understand while crossing the English Channel, wearing a wetsuit would be preferable. However, to keep the tradition, it doesn't count if you wear a wetsuit. But also, however, all those early crossers, like the first people to cross the English Channel, did not have the technology to train or to feed or to even have people near them as they were doing that swim. It's a
Yeah.
dangerous thing,
It's
and
yeah.
I can appreciate people wanting to push their limits and do dangerous things. But also, we do live in a time where we have technology that we can be safer when we do this,
Mhm.
but some sports choose not to. Some sports
Right.
choose to. Triathlon chooses
Well,
to. They appreciate.
that's kind of
Yeah.
the place I'm at now. I'm actually really interested in learning how to use the newest technology better. There's a lot of measurement tools now that you can put a little disc in your cap and it'll collect all the data of your workout and stuff. Or I don't like the idea so much of trying to like do it right as you're doing it at first, of like more like just collecting it or doing some key test set and then looking at the data. What was the stroke rate averages? How much did it fade? How many kicks underwater? How long are you underwater versus on the surface and things like that, or dissecting a race to see where the weaknesses are that you can like be underwater less time or be underwater more or longer distance underwater so you don't take so many strokes once you come up, and like kind of figuring out those metrics without it being too terribly complicated, that both the athlete and the coach kind of understand how it works or can utilize it, because I don't want to spend hours like crunching over data for people. I'd rather have them be able to do it and then come to me and say, this is what I learned. I need to be better at X or whatever. But I can't even get people to, you know, swim 3/100s descend and count how many strokes they took per length, in
Ooh.
100. So they come in and touch the wall and I go, uh, what was your time? Uh, I don't know. My stroke count was 18. I go, it's two different things. Swimming and counting is different from finishing and looking at the clock. They're like separate. You do them different, and it's like, nope, I'm one or the other. I got my time. I don't know what my stroke count was. I got my stroke count. I know what my time was. It's like
A lot of
simple
mental
math.
focus.
Unfortunately, swimming is like simple math and people don't like math, but it's simple math, how many strokes do you take and what is your stroke rate? And if you can improve those two numbers, you're going to get a lot faster, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I like the idea of using something, a piece of technology, device, or something to learn from, not to necessarily um, do or demonstrate for you. Like, I don't want, you can't learn in the moment that way when it comes to movement, right? You can kind of like, if you were in the gym and you saw your reflection in a mirror, you can make a correction to a position, but that doesn't mean you learn the new position. But in 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks, and you're holding that position and you're getting stronger and lifting weights in that position, you automatically start going to that position. But it started by seeing yourself first. It didn't change instantly, right? And so everything is always learned in this like over a period of time. We do it in Pilates all the time. Whenever
Yeah.
we do Pilates, right? I know that from a month ago to where I am now, I'm doing things better, right? Because I could feel those changes in my positions, right?
Mhm.
I could see what I was doing and I can make the adjustment, but I couldn't make the adjustment and make it a permanent fixture in my movement pattern instantly just because I saw it, right? And so
Yeah.
it's the same thing with any piece of technology. If I
I,
had a
I,
tempo
I,
trainer,
I I don't agree
what do you
with
got,
you.
Mike?
Tempo trainer. A tempo trainer, you can skew somebody into a much better range of where they should be, whether
Yep.
they're way too slow rate or way too high.
Yep.
And you use it wisely for a while, and you can take the tempo trainer out and they still hear the beep and they're still on the rate that they need to
For
do
how
and they
long?
kind of relearn it.
If they came back the next day, no tempo trainer, they're not going to be on that beat. But it was
No,
the
no, I,
initial
I didn't
start,
say in like one
right?
session. If they
Right.
use it on a regular basis, just like
Right.
if you asked a good swimmer to say, all right, I want you to swim a 70% hunter free, what's your time going to be? And they go 110, and they're going to come in between 109 and 111. They're not going to come in at 102. They're not going to come in at 120. They're going to be right around the time. And then you go, okay, now I want you to go 85%. All right, I'm going to go 105. And they come in really close to that, because they have good body awareness and they know what a certain effort. I can do the same thing with people with stroke rate. I want you to swim this 50 at about 60 strokes a minute. I want you to bump it to 70. I want you to go 90 strokes a minute. I have people that can do that because they've done enough tempo trainer to understand it
Mhm. Right.
and
That
to have
technology,
those rates in their
right. You're
in their
proving my point. That
scores.
technology was the start.
Yep.
It didn't teach them immediately. They had to do it over and over and over again. And then through time and experience with that device,
You can learn
they
to do it
started to
yourself.
acclimate and taught themselves, right?
Right.
So
It's a
that's my
hat
point.
and it has
Now,
to be a habit that you use on a regular
exactly right.
basis till it works.
Now, at some point, Mike's going to disagree with this probably. I don't really care. That's the whole point of conversations, by the way. At
I
some point,
disagree with you all the time. No one should care.
tempo trainers are not helpful because when
Yeah,
we
I heard you say
swim,
to go on like
right?
an
Because when we
uneven stroke,
swim,
like someone that like,
we're not swimming to a consistent beat. Our body is not moving that way.
Not symmetrical.
Right. And so we are going to be moving in a syncopation. I can tell you right now, it's going to be close. It will be very close to that tempo that tempo trainer is telling me. But one of my arms is going to enter a little bit faster than that beat.
Yeah.
One of my arms is going to enter right on that beat. Right. And so that's as we get into a nuanced movement pattern of an individual, tempo trainers are very, 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 very beneficial. But then we have to start recognizing that is a man made sort of industrial device. It has a very sort of rigid component to it. And humans are not man made, even though we are man made. Isn't that weird? And we're organic and we don't move rigidly. So it's a different movement pattern set to a different beat, but a very similar beat. It is complicated, but interesting when you get to a point with somebody where they can feel that change of like they're not on the right necessarily the same beat left to right, but they are very close. It's an interesting thing.
yeah, that is true. Freestyle can have a lopsided, uneven stroke, but do you know what stroke has the tightest range in stroke rate in like high
Ooh,
level
that's a good
race?
question. I would think breaststroke or fly. I don't know.
It's definitely butterfly. There's a super tight range. They've done studies of like Olympic finalists or NC2A finalists in every event, and they publish these reports, American Swim Coach Association, of like, the times of the first to eighth place difference, and then what their stroke rate were, what their stroke counts were, and all that stuff. And so you start to see a bandwidth that gets fairly narrow, like the 50 free, they're pretty close in the number of strokes they take and the stroke rate that they're going at, but
Right.
it still has a bigger range. The 100 fly is the tightest. The 100 and 200 fly, like there is a
Makes sense.
very small margin. They're all right in the same, very tight one. But even breaststroke has some pretty good variability in how long people, stay at the
Yeah, that's
glide or
true.
whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
But
There's
fly is the tightest. Yeah, it's kind of
so
interesting to see that.
it is very interesting.
Let's
Going
do a triathlon. All fly.
seen it.
All fly. Absolutely absurd.
I don't remember what year it was, but I remember I was in high school. And do you remember when they like NBC would show Iron Man,
Mhm.
Mhm.
Kona? All right, I
Heck
remember
yeah.
seeing some guy do the whole swim butterfly.
Butterfly.
I was like, that's not going to go well.
Absurd. Absurd.
I think it was like the first out of the water, but I don't think he
So-
even got out of
so
T1.
considerate. You're considerate, are you, bro?
So any advice, Mike, for someone looking for a wetsuit, might be beginner, intermediate? Any thoughts on going back to the wetsuit part of this?
Yeah, I definitely and there aren't a lot of places you can, go try in a wetsuit or anything like that anymore. So you pretty much have to mail order a wetsuit. And definitely look carefully at their size charts, because those really matter, the height and weight, range, and try to, get somewhere into the middle of that range. Um, I definitely uh advise against getting the very lowest level suits and the very highest level suits. They're both really not good. The lowest level suits that a lot of these companies put out are like a 1 millimeter thick rubber. And again, they go on like you can just pull them right on. They're super easy. Uh, they stretch out like in a millisecond. The water gets
Mhm.
in, they balloon out. They're not giving enough buoyancy. They're not giving that good a warmth. I mean, they're terrible. But they're cheap. They're $99 or whatever. So you go, oh, it looks exactly the same in the picture. You can't tell the difference
Right.
uh, between them, but the material is just it's too thin, and you're not going to get the float and the what I said, that compression that you need. So not the lowest level suits. But be willing to try different brands. Don't just think, this brand
Yeah.
is the best brand, or the pros are wearing
Smelt
that
fit.
brand, so that must
Yeah.
be the best brand. There's there's several brands, but you're kind of looking for that mid-tier level suit is pretty much going to be the best. And what I try to do, I mean, I'm lucky because I have a big program with a lot of people. I'll say, hey, this person is about your size. And then I'll ask that person, hey, can she borrow your suit at practice, just to swim in it?
Mhm.
a little bit. And I have a prescribed wetsuit calibration set that we do in the pool with the wetsuit on. And I encourage people anytime you can get to borrow a suit or you buy a new suit or your existing suit, the beginning of the season, we're going to do this calibration set and see where you're at. And then we've got data, we got numbers to go to compare that to the next time you try a suit or whatever. And it's a pretty simple protocol. It's 4 100s starting as absolutely easy as you can swim on the first 100. And then the second 100's about 60 to 70%. So you're just going a little bit stronger. And then the third one, you're kind of pretty strong. And then you go one as fast as you can go in the suit. So it's 4 100s from as easy as you can go to as fast as you can go. And we record those times. And I might even count some strokes during it at the different effort levels. And I may even get some stroke rates if I can. But I don't always have I can't always do that because that might be during a practice that I'm having them do it. And then they get about a 2-minute rest and they go 2 400s at a steady pace at the best average they can do. So I don't want them to go super easy on the first and blow doors on the second. I don't want them to go all out and then die on the second one. I just want to see how well can you pace 2 400s. So we're getting a little more distance involved. So this is where you can find out if there's like cumulative fatigue on their shoulders or the tightness starts getting worse or whatever it is. What pace do you think in general that those 400s are compared to the 4 100s that they started off with?
Oh, you mean like on those 4 100s, are they slower than the 400 average 100-yard pace for the 400? Is that what you're asking?
So the first, let's just say somebody goes 130 on their first 100, then they
Okay.
go 124, and then they go 120, and then they go 115. What do you think they end up averaging on the 400s?
I would guess somewhere around the 120s, but who
It would
knows?
be it's generally the second 100,
Okay.
not the very, very slowest one, unless they're a super novice and then they just blow up and go slower anyways. It's generally about the pace of your second 100, which is still 60 to 70%. It's not that hard of effort.
Right.
That's kind of where they get optimal speed. But a lot of times they go that easiest 100 they can go. And it's like 5 seconds faster than what they're regularly doing at practice
Mhm.
without a wetsuit. And so like they just don't believe it. They don't understand it, And so I'm like, that's why you got to swim in the wetsuit a little bit more. But don't be thinking just because you did one pretty fast 100 in a wetsuit that now you swim that speed all the time. There's still you have to have the skill and ability to maintain a pace with the wetsuit on. And that's why we have to do the little bit longer distance as well. And
Yeah.
then we always
Yes, not
finish off
magical.
our wetsuit swimming with the 25 fast, and you get out of the pool at the other end and you run around the pool getting out of the wetsuit.
Oh,
Take it off.
nice. Good. That's really good, actually.
For the
It's hard to
triathletes,
take
if
those
you're
things
just an
off.
open water
It's
swimmer,
hard.
but
Yeah.
you get out of the suit because again, this is a hack. It's if it takes you 30 seconds to get out of the freaking wetsuit and you could have like how hard is it to swim 30 seconds faster in a 500 or 1,000? It's freaking hard. But if you can
Mhm.
you got it burned into your muscle memory what the pattern is to get out of the suit. Like somebody not wearing a wetsuit versus somebody wearing a wetsuit at a race, it's only like 6 seconds slower with the wetsuit total time to get out of it because you're doing some of it while you're running and then it just pulling it down, doing the steps to get out of it. Some people say, oh, I don't want to wear the wetsuit because I'll lose too much time in transition. You don't lose time in transition if you've practiced doing it.
Practiced.
Right. Well said. Um, I always go for the wetsuit that's going to make me look most like the superhero. So
They
that'd
make
be my
them that
nice.
actually have like the ab marks on them. They
Yes,
make some.
I know. I'm actually really looking forward to we're going to obviously take a group photo when we're in the Bahamas. Well, I'm looking forward to that group photo because everyone's always in their wetsuit and everyone always looks like they're some sort of action figure. It's the best part of a wetsuit, if you ask me. Like, man, I look good.
It's like a
So in
costume.
the Bahamas, it's cool enough to wear the wetsuits, huh?
It can be like what we typically do. Like I said, it's between water temp 75, 78, right? A
It's
lot of the times, the pool that we swim in is colder than the water.
yeah.
So we'll actually wear
And then
the
it's like
wetsuits in the
60
pool more than
degrees in the
anything.
There you
pool.
go. There you go.
Um,
You should
and
try that
then
test set with them. See what you
I'm
get.
going to. I absolutely am. I'll let you know how it goes.
But then
Uh,
also it's just like when you don't move that much because we have a lot of instruction and you're sitting
Yeah, yeah,
there
yeah. It's way
like
better. Definitely.
freezing. So we're always like, no, wear the wetsuit. You're
right,
not going to do that much physical movement this
right.
morning.
And
Wear
then
it.
and once we get to like the main set, whatever that we're doing
Most people
that
take it off.
workout, then most people just strip it right off, put it
This
on
is
the.
Okay.
this is Nova the cat.
Oh well, you saw our
I
dog
saw
in the
your
background
dog. I
earlier.
saw your dog cruising around in the back.
Yeah.
She's
So
investigating.
so yeah, they normally strip it off once they actually get into like hard work, and they just throw it up on the
Okay.
paddle board, and I bring it back to shore for them. So
Nice.
yeah, it varies, and it's an opportunity for people to just practice with a wetsuit. I mean, that's really what we want. In years past, we've had people bring multiple wetsuits to practice with just to see which one they liked
Good.
more.
Yeah.
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 Well,
So
I don't recommend trying to wear more than one wetsuit at one practice. It's really hard to get them off and back
oh yeah,
on.
yeah.
So
One practice. Don't do that. No, no,
I
no, no.
try to
Don't do that.
tell
Yeah,
them
like when we have
to bring a
dedicated lessons,
different
yeah,
one on
that's
a
what we
different
do.
day of the week, and we'll kind of
Yeah,
redo
yeah,
the
yeah.
same test.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
do you
I always
do?
tell everyone, if you're gonna wear a wetsuit in practices, you got to put it on first. You can't swim and then put it on. That's
Exactly.
insane.
Exactly.
That's a
What
great
do
way to
you
rip a
do
wetsuit
for
and get real frustrated.
Hurt yourself.
Yeah.
what do you
100%.
do for
You
awareness
gotta
to get them uh, fully aware of the differences of how their body works with and without the wetsuit? Do you have any like little skill drills or things like that that you use like
Not
without
so
the
much.
suit and then with?
and you have T minus 2 minutes, so you better hurry up and
Yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily say that I ask them to do a skill and then they feel it. A lot of the times, it's something that I can see because I know them well enough. I see them move all the time. I go, "Hey, something's not right," and they'll say, "Yes, I feel something's not right,"
yeah.
and we go down that road. We do it together usually, but
So
go
try
ahead.
try this with your swimmers without the wetsuit. And I do this with almost any new swimmer I have, just because I want to learn their buoyancy levels. So shallow water, just standing up, they take a big breath and hold it, and they just go into a ball, like
Mhm,
grab their knees, hold the air, and
mhm,
so they're kind of floating, and their back pops to the surface, and they rock around a little bit. Uh, and then I'll have them do it again. And when they stop rocking, blow all their air out and then just see how much they sink. And do they just go straight down or do their hips and legs drop and then they go down a little bit, depending upon how buoyant they
right,
are. And
right,
then the third one is they start in the ball with air in the lungs and then they slide their arms out into the front and their legs out to the back and
mhm,
they try to be aligned. So go from a ball to a line
mhm,
and see if they can do that. And then, good portion
right.
of them, hips and legs really drop.
Yep,
So doing that, just no gear on, just regular in a pool. But then doing that with a wetsuit on, it's like everybody, boing,
right,
they stretch
right.
out, they're popped to the surface. And they didn't really know that. They don't really understand just how high their body can sit when they have a wetsuit on, to stretch out or how much
Yeah,
higher they sit in the water. It's pretty eye opening to them. And they're like,
it is.
wow, they didn't really know that they can do that. And also, the other one is a back float. Like if you ask most of your swimmers, can they just float on their back? Most of them can't, or their hips and legs, or they don't have the
Right.
ability to do it. Their Pilates muscles to do it. But again,
Right.
with the wetsuit, one of the first things I train them is that just roll to your back and lay there and you could take 3 or 5 breaths and you're not going down. And then you can
Mhm.
roll over and keep swimming and you're totally fine. But so we start some practices. You go in the open water, you dip your head, you get wet, and then we do like a 20-second, just float on your back. Just, and it's just like adapting to the environment you're in and realizing, hey, you can be chill. You don't have to be like, game on, man. I'm swimming in my wetsuit,
I don't want that kind of practice. Float on my back.
All right, we gotta
Yeah.
say our goodbyes. We're running out of time here. Mike, how can people find you? You're on Try Swim Coach now, so people are on Try Swim Coach. They can DM you directly if they wanted to. How else can they
Right
find you?
on. Yeah. So I'm at Nova Masters in California. NovaMasters.com is our website.